What is up? What is up? What is up, everybody? Welcome back. Ringwalk Danny alongside
Bo Mason and
Mr. Evan Korn.
Yes, sir.
Newly promoted, right? Matchmaker.
I still do a lot of PR work, but I'm here assisting the best matchmaker who ever did it, and Brad Goodman and Bruce Trampler. So it's kind of the two best people on the planet you could possibly learn that trade from. So it's a relatively new thing, but exciting.
And there was some Goodman news not good news, but about Mr. Goodman that passed away.
Bro, that was Bobby Goodman.
Yeah,
Bobby
Goodman, promoter, matchmaker,
in New
publicist.
York.
Worked for Don King for a very long time, and one of the greats in both fields. Really.
Yes, sir.
But how's that been, Evan? How you been enjoying that?
It's like everything. Excuse me, like everything. It's it's a learning experience. It's fun. Right now, it's all about learning from the best, learning from Brad Goodman, following his lead. He's developed, over 65 world champions from pretty much the start of a pro career to a world championship level. You see a lot of our guys now, Jose Ramirez, Oscar Valdez, Lomachenko, on and on, that were molded and guided on that front by Brad Goodman. So to learn from somebody like himself and to have Bruce Trampler around, one Hall of Famer in Bruce Trampler, one soon-to-be Hall of Famer this summer, and Brad Goodman, two best people on the planet you could learn that from. So it's been exciting, but it's been a learning experience too.
Top Rank has what, 3 or 4 individuals in the Hall this summer?
Yeah.
Tim.
I'm honest. I'm really spacing on it now, but I think 3 or 4.
Yeah, I felt like it was 3 or 4. But how much less?
I should remiss to say if I didn't mention Brad Jacobs, our COO, who is as indispensable to the company as anybody else. So he's going to be joining Brad Goodman in the Hall of Fame.
Okay, that's
as well.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. But how much less PR work are you taking on these days now with your matchmaking duties, if you will?
I would say a little less. I'm focusing more on some big picture stuff. We've hired Gabe Rivas to handle a lot of the day-to-day stuff. He did an incredible job over with Golden Boy for many years. The best translator in the business too, so that's an added bonus that we have. And so, a little less of that, and a lot of my time is now spent learning from Brad and Bruce and getting accustomed to that line. And I think when people think matchmaking, they think it's just fighter A and fighter B, which is part of it, but there's a lot more behind the scenes and a lot more logistics and things that go into being a matchmaker. And so it's a learning process.
So right now you just pretty much shadowing those guys because they some of the best in the business. Humongous shoes to fill. Everybody loves the matchmaking at Top Rank, or I feel that way because I know myself. I love the matchmaking at Top Rank, especially with the up-and-coming prospects and Olympians, former, that y'all have currently.
Yeah, it's being a sponge and learning from Brad and, making suggestions and with certain fights or fighters.
What's been your best suggestion?
Well, there's a couple fights coming up that after they happen,
Started, Danny.
And I always say if our guy wins, I'll take credit for it. If he loses, it was not my idea. So
Nah, you got to bite the bullet.
So there's one coming up in May. I think you're aware of that we talked about offline, but
okay.
I think I hope the fans will enjoy it.
Yeah, I didn't want to.
What do you like better? Do you like the PR stuff? I feel like the PR stuff could be a lot more stressful than the matchmaking could get because matchmaking is kind of.
Thankfully, I have not.
PR is everybody. Matchmaking is like more of a closed circle of people. In my opinion,
I have not experienced this yet, thankfully, but it will happen. But there's nothing more stressful than an opponent dropping out on Monday or Tuesday of fight week.
Right.
And you get a call in the middle of the night and you got to find somebody on 3 or 4 days notice,
right.
Which Brad Goodman and Bruce Trampler have successfully navigated dozens of times. So I don't think anything else will be as stressful as that experience. And thankfully hasn't happened yet, but I'll tell you what it's like when it does.
If you ever need some backup on like a Monday, the fight is Saturday, and you want to find somebody opponent for your fighter, hit me up. I know the fighters by the cities,
Are you You're offering your services. What do you?
I'm offering my if you looking for.
Well, no, are you a super middleweight? Wait, 160?
No.
168? If you want to pop in on late notice in the Midwest somewhere, man, we can make that happen.
I was telling somebody the other day, my body. I'm not conditioned to take punches from professional fighters.
I have dropped weight, and I was speaking to a couple of your guys, like, yo, I've thought about maybe dedicating 18 months, and like, just going to get like a tomato can. On like
Mexico card.
No, I was thinking like,
You go to the Carolinas, man. You can get a win.
Oh,
I'm sure I could pay for a slot fee like on one of your opening cards, like, you know what I'm saying, right? Like off ESPN Plus, like
all of our fights are on Plus, man. So we 99% at least. So
why do they say that about the Carolinas? Michael Williams Jr. They're like, oh, he found someone at the gas station, and it's no shot. But I'm just saying that's what I was hearing from people. Is they're just picking up people at the bus stop and saying, hey, you want to fight Saturday?
No disrespect to Michael Williams. He got to 19-0.
Right.
And then he stepped up and fought John Bauza.
And almost had the shot against Adrian Broner.
And was knocked down, 7 times in 4 rounds. I mean, nice kid. His father's a nice guy. But, he was 19-0, building up a record in the Carolinas.
This morning, and I just don't feed into this shit, but this morning somebody sends me, like, a video. And I didn't even watch the full thing, but it started with, like, yo, I'm at the gym. He ain't hurt. He's training right here.
Oh.
And they was talking about the guy. I didn't even finish watching it.
But he was literally there working out?
I didn't finish watching it. But the guy was like, yo, that's his car. He pointing at a car. I'm like, oh, my goodness. I'm like, yo.
Wow.
But, Evan, I mean, what you guys got cooking, man? I feel like outside of April 8th and April 1st, there hasn't been
and March 25th.
Yeah, that's just overshadowed. That's just overshadowed. I'm sorry. You guys do have Ramirez back home, obviously.
Overshadowed, but it won't cost $74.99. So.
Well, no, I meant by your other cards. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean April 8th is just loaded, but it is overshadowed.
And the 25th.
Yeah,
Caleb and David.
That's a great fight.
But, I said it. April 8th, you guys have the best card. Everybody's going that day. Showtime is going that day. Dazn is going that day. But, in my opinion, you guys have the best card from top to bottom. And, we were actually saying it this morning on the show that Top Rank has made it to where now, I'm either tuning in or showing up at the arena typically from the very first fight, to the very last fight, which hasn't been typical a lot of the times. A lot of times people show up or won't tune into the main card, but you guys make it not just accessible for the people at home, but because it's accessible for the people at home, it's like we get to know the fighters. Now we want to show up to watch the guys, from the very beginning.
I think it's, I've been at Top Rank 5 years, and I can say with certainty that in the 5 years I've been here, the level of young talent is as good as it's been. When I arrived at Top Rank, it was Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson. And Joseph Adorno was another one of the guys that was really popping at that time. And obviously Shakur and Teofimo are now, Shakur's one of the very best fighters in the world. Teofimo's one of the biggest attractions in boxing. And so it's been nice to see, like, you start and those guys are 5-0, 4-0, and now they're, doing incredible things, and now we have Keyshawn Davis and Jared Anderson and Bruce Carrington and all of our Olympians and Richard Torres. Floyd Diaz is going to be in a good fight soon, which will be announced soon. And
Floyd Diaz not even 20 years old yet.
So there's just so much. Abdullah Mason, who, I think once he develops that man strength, it's going to be absolutely scary. I remember when Brad Goodman showed me a video of him, one of his amateur fights before we were signing him, and I was, everybody was blown away. I mean, he's 16 years old, and it was just electric. You watch sometimes you watch amateur boxing, and it's tough to tell, and you don't really, can't really get a handle on it. But Abdullah Mason was one of those guys that just jumped off the screen, and a couple of his first couple of fights he was in with real tough guys. I think he made his debut against Jalon Phillips.
Mm-hmm.
And, you guys know him from the gyms out here. He fought 2 draws with Shakur's guy, Antoine Cobb, who was an excellent amateur in Chicago in his own right. And he just, a guy like Tiger Johnson, another guy came out of the Olympics. he wasn't one of the three Olympians, Torres, Duke, and Troy, all won silver medals. So he didn't come out of the Olympics with as much, promotion or anticipation, I should say, as a guy like Richard Torres, who was a super heavyweight. So that's that adds a star attraction sort of thing to him. But Tiger came out in his pro debut on the Porter Crawford card, fought a real solid guy, and then we all looked at each other and said, "Wow, this kid can be something too." So it's a long way of saying we're just so excited about the Olympians.
Tiger and his team had this really nice fight tracksuit for his pro debut. It was like this fur hood. It was really dope. Yeah. I have never seen anybody. I don't think even Jake or Logan has something that fly for their pro debut or their first fight. Right. But that he came out fly. I remember that.
Jake came out with a robot shortly after, though. So
and I'd be remiss to say Xander Zayas as well. Obviously.
Xander Zayas, absolutely.
The one name you didn't mention is the undisputed champ.
I was talking about our up and comers.
You led with Shakur.
He led with Shakur, though. He said those were the people that was there.
Yeah, from the beginning.
So yeah, obviously at the top of our
Tiafimo Shakur.
Obviously at the top of the we have Fury, Haney, Beterbiev, Josh
Taylor, the other undisputed champ.
Well, no, he's got
not the other, but Devin Haney. He did lead Devin Haney out.
No, I just said Devin, Tyson, Beterbiev, all the top of the food chain.
I was thinking Josh Taylor.
Josh is back in June, right? Him and Teo going at it.
You saw the reports,
right?
Going at it. Puerto Rican Day weekend in New York City. It's typically I feel like a big fight weekend in New York City, so it fits well. And there was a lot of talks. I'm just curious, was Ireland just a logistic thing? Couldn't play out?
You're talking about Puerto Rico? Putting the fight in Puerto Rico?
Nah, wasn't there talks of doing Josh Taylor and Teofimo in Ireland?
Talks in Scotland or
Scotland. I'm sorry, Scotland.
But we've had such a great partnership with Madison Square Garden over the years, doing those fights on Puerto Rican Day Parade weekend, that we and now that there's no travel bans and anything, Josh's fans can fly in. It's it's a 5-6 hour flight from London and from the UK. So given our partnership with MSG and all that, New York just made sense, and we have so many. In addition to Xander, we have other Puerto Rican fighters that we're going to showcase on that card. So the top of the bill, is Teo, Honduran kid from Brooklyn. And Josh, you get the UK fans coming over, and then a bunch of Puerto Rican talents.
Xander, I'm assuming.
I mean, it would be pretty foolish of us not to put our biggest Puerto Rican star on the Puerto Rican weekend, right?
I could argue Shakur is bigger, but
Shakur is half. Yeah, Shakur is.
It's
part. That's true. He is Puerto Rican.
The Puerto Ricans have definitely taken a liking. They're trying to bring him in, bring Shakur in. I'm like, hold on, man.
I get what you're saying.
We definitely at some point want to bring Shakur over to the island, and do some stuff with him there.
Okay.
His father was
the island of Puerto Rico.
The island of Puerto Rico.
An actual fight for Shakur.
Yeah, his father's Puerto Rican, and
that'll take him.
And,
it'd be huge for Xander.
Yeah,
for Xander to get back, on the island as well.
Okay.
I have to ask, did Top Rank or ESPN have any involvement with Xander in that community outreach thing that he did alongside Bad Bunny back in Puerto Rico?
Yeah, we had some involvement in that. Okay. I know his people reached out to Xander, and then we partnered and did some stuff.
That was pretty dope.
I got a question.
Dope.
But it's not meant to be a tough question, but
just ask the fucking
always
question.
have wondered. I got to set the tone.
Ask whatever you want.
I got to set the tone. So y'all got a lot of Olympians, mostly pretty much everyone who medaled, the men.
We have every single male Olympian.
Except O'Shea Jones. I know she had some situations here more recent than not, and I was just wondering kind of why she didn't seem as if she was as pursued as some of the other ones. Because the other ones, it was right there, back to back to back, all the Olympians, but she kind of got left out, in my opinion. I was just wondering.
Well, no, to be honest, I wasn't privy to any conversations.
Yes, sir.
Whether or not she was somebody we were pursuing or not. So I honestly can't answer that question.
Understood.
But she's obviously a very talented young woman, and she's going to have a heck of a pro career, I think.
She just got to stay focused and away from all the other stuff.
Yo, what fight you most excited for, Evan?
I think, hopefully the Haney-Loma fight gets across the finish line soon. I think that is, that fight goes one of two ways. Either it's, the passing of the torch, as people say, or it's a Roberto Duran, Davey Moore situation where you have the older Hall of Famer, smaller guy, knocking off the bigger, undefeated, favored guy. So whatever happens in that fight, it's a great story, and it's going to obviously have a lot of ramifications, on the sport and on the division for a long time. So I'm just excited for that. Can Loma turn back the clock? Obviously he didn't, his last performance against Jermaine Ortiz maybe wasn't a signature performance, but it was coming off a 10-month layoff and everything that was going on in Ukraine. So I think now he'll be coming off a layoff that was half as long as the layoff he had preceding his last fight. So you will see a better version of Lomachenko in this fight. And Devin, he obviously had a career-defining fight or two with George Kambosos, but this is, the first Hall of Fame truly elite fighter that he's faced.
Do you travel a lot overseas when y'all have like a card with BT and stuff like that? Do you travel?
It depends on the card. I was in Australia twice for both of Devin's fights with George last year. I went to Arthur's fight.
Okay.
Fury White I went to. And Fury Chisora I couldn't go to because I had a personal thing.
So you
home,
there.
But yeah, no. So I travel internationally, and it's the British fans. I say it all the time are just second to none. They have such a passion for the sport, and when you ask, like, when people ask, why is that fight in the UK? It's like, well, the British fans show up and they watch, and
they do it in a stadium too. I want stadium fights here. I won't stop until we get stadium fights here.
Yeah, but
outdoor stadium,
it's a difference.
50,000, 40,000 plus.
Yeah, Top Rank did it twice with Manny at Cowboy Stadium, and
that was
the first ones to do it.
We did Cotto Foreman at Yankee Stadium, and
now we talking about Cotto. That's old too. I'm talking about the recent.
Canelo fought a few stadium fights,
but I'm talking about for sure. And when I watched the Canelo versus Austin Trout fight, that reminded me of how great stadium fights in America are.
Miami against Yildirim, I think, and he fought Callum Smith. Was it in
No, Callum was at
he fought he fought 75.
Alamo.
Is Top Rank not interested in doing, or do you know if they not interested in doing stadium fights?
It's not a matter. It's not a matter of not interested. I mean,
right. I'm asking.
To take a name, right?
No, it's not a matter of not interested.
But Devin Haney.
Right, but it take a name and a dance partner. Like,
I mean, listen, you can't.
Lomachenko.
Bro, come on, people. I mean, people. I understand the layoff, and obviously, I absolutely respect what he was doing in Ukraine. But people question whether he won that fight.
I thought he.
You think Lomachenko? I mean, I feel like Lomachenko, and Evan, you could probably correct me if I'm wrong, because.
So you're saying Loma not good enough for a stadium fight?
I feel like Loma is a bigger TV attraction than he is a in-person box office attraction.
I think what you're going to get with this fight is, I think this is a perfect fight for an arena.
Yes, sir.
You get a packed arena. You saw what Shakur Valdez was like. People say, Loma combined with Devin, I think that's bankable. You go back to when I started following boxing, really. Mid-90s to early 2000s, you had a guy like Shane Mosley, right? He beats Oscar, but he doesn't become Oscar, right? Just because he beat the man doesn't make you
the man, right?
Floyd did a good job. He beat Oscar, beat Haddon, and then was off into the stratosphere. But what Mosley, so when Mosley beats Oscar, his next few fights were on regular HBO. It wasn't pay-per-view. He wasn't a pay-per-view draw as an A-side, but you put him in a rematch with Oscar, or you put him in there with the Fernando Vargas, or a guy who's kind of like a co-A side, and he could sell on a pay-per-view, just like Bernard Hopkins. We put him in with Oscar. Him and Jermaine was kind of that was probably the first time he was really like the A side on a pay-per-view that sold well. Him and Tarver was kind of like a co-A side situation. So in order to put a fight on in a stadium, there's obviously a lot more financial liability, and you got to have two guys. It's got to have two megastars, really. And not that Loma or Devin aren't, but that's probably more of an arena fight. I mean, Tank and Ryan, you could have put it at Allegiant, but there's a lot of complications that go into doing stuff like that, and they're going to pack out the T-Mobile, and it's going to be a great event for boxing.
I said it. I was one of the ones pushing that one. I felt like currently that was the only fight in the sport that could be made and land at Allegiant was Tank and Ryan, my personal opinion. But after I saw the XFL, who got The Rock, ABC, ESPN, in every other city, they're playing in an actual stadium except in Vegas. They said Allegiant was too expensive. I'm like, if it's too expensive for ABC, ESPN, and The Rock, it's probably going to be too expensive for this very expensive co-promoted fight.
Steven Espinoza today said that it's a lot of issues with the production. He didn't mention anything about the price specifically, but he did say it's a lot of issues with the production of making a fight at Allegiant. And he also said that in the future there will be boxing there, but I guess got to work out the early on kinks and whatnot.
I'm sure there will be. There's just a lot more logistics and again complications that go into a stadium fight, and you have to have the right fight. I think there will be boxing in Allegiant. I think there will be boxing at that MSG Sphere.
I was gonna ask you, given Top Rank's partnership with Madison Square Garden, have you guys looked to do shows? The venue is set to hold 18,000, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's like for concerts or some shit.
I mean, it was built from what I've been reading. It was built with concerts in mind. The acoustics and everything, and it's by far the most expensive arena that's ever been built.
And that's the globe-shaped building.
Yeah, that's a huge globe that you can see from pretty much anywhere.
Right.
Yeah. And so I think U2's opening up with a big residency there, and from what I've heard, obviously it could accommodate sporting events and boxing.
How long have you had an iPhone for?
How long have I had an iPhone?
Yeah.
After 6 years. 7
All right,
years.
so you've had an iPhone.
You say 6 years?
Probably longer, 10 years. Yeah.
So did you have it when Apple forced that U2 album on your phone? Like I had never.
I did not.
Okay.
That was actually a pretty good album, though.
Let me tell you, I had never in my life heard of these people.
No one heard of them.
And even though it was on
you never heard of U2?
Not until Apple forced that trash, and I never played it not one time.
Oh, so it's an actual they were a legit group,
bro. It's a band or some shit.
I know this is a boxing show, and
we
work
go
for Top Rank.
We go off topic like
guys
a
are right.
motherfucker.
U2 is one of the biggest, most popular, highest selling rock bands that's ever existed.
Since they forced the album on our phone, or
they've been around since 1980.
Okay.
They're like literally.
So that's why
I didn't know what I was looking at. I just never clicked on it.
That's
but
why
it was
they tried to force
there.
it on us in like 2015.
They're probably one of
they cheated.
They're one of the 5 or 10 most popular bands that's ever existed.
Yeah, so I had never heard of them when Apple did that whack shit. But
you should listen to Joshua Tree. You'll enjoy it.
Oh, like California?
I hear Joshua Tree.
No, their famous album's called Joshua Tree.
Not that.
They're most critically
so they do mushrooms and stuff like that.
Probably because Joshua Tree is like a mushroom place. Yeah, you go look at the stars and shit.
And the weird trees
meditate.
As well.
No, they're a very popular rock band. They're not like trippy or jam band. You should listen to the album Joshua Tree, the first 3 songs, Danny, and get back to me.
I'll give maybe one song or two.
You gotta smoke one first though, so you can get be open to hearing whatever it is they're coming with.
Bro, trust me, if I'm breathing,
it's gonna be
my mind is stimulated.
I don't think you have to worry about Danny being high.
Yo, Evan, I gotta ask. We just saw you guys put on, the Jake Paul pay-per-view in Saudi. How much will Top Rank, to your knowledge, be working with Skill Challenge Entertainment? Obviously, I thought it was a phenomenal production. They brought out so many stars, and I would love to travel to Saudi or anywhere in the Middle East for a show. But
I can't speak to that. I mean, we were working closely with MVP and Nikisa and Jake's team on production, and it was a big thing utilizing Top Rank's vast social media audience and platform to help push the fight. And all I can say is everybody was very happy with how the fight did, and they were great to work with. Like that team over there knows what they're doing, and they've got good PR people, good social media people, good operational people, and so the event was a success. I didn't go down to Saudi. A few of our staff did, but
Have you ever been?
I've not been to the Middle East. So hopefully one day I can check out maybe Dubai, Abu Dhabi.
It seems like there was some interest there. Devin was present, and he was part of a speaking panel, and the Prince spoke on his accomplishments and how they would like to have him there at some point. Is Lomachenko? Is that fight? I just saw Lomachenko Saturday. He says here, is that fight still realistic for the Middle East, or do you think it would be for another opportunity?
I mean, we have to see. I think hopefully an announcement will come in the next couple of weeks, and everybody will find out. But I definitely know that was being explored, and so we'll have to see what happens.
Would it be MGM or T-Mobile here?
It'll. I honestly don't know what venue it would be.
Okay,
but,
no worries.
I don't think it'll be there. It won't be the Death Star, Raider Stadium.
Is it absolutely required?
No, I didn't think it would. Go ahead.
Is it absolutely required to do what you do to have a college degree, as far as PR for a top boxing company?
I mean, I think most PR agencies. Well, so I got into Top Rank. I was a journalist first, and I worked for a few agencies out here. And so I think those jobs require a college degree, but there's a lot of people in boxing and a lot of people with significant roles in boxing who don't have college degrees.
That's what I'm knowing. That's why I asked specifically.
But the path that I took to get there, the jobs that I got in order to get to this point,
right, did require it for the most
part.
So
I would say it's like a yes and no.
So what was your major in college?
I was a journalism major, and I graduated. I graduated in 2008, and it was.
Where'd you go to school?
The worst year to graduate from college. Because of the recession.
I graduated high school in 2006, went to like junior college, and after junior college, it was 2008. Yeah. And then I began working in the middle of the at the beginning of the recession.
Yeah, so, sorry, what did you ask, Danny?
What university?
I went to a school called Ithaca College in upstate New York. Okay. It's a very good communication school, and so it's the same. It's right where Cornell is on the other side of the hill.
Yeah,
I wasn't smart enough for Cornell, but
it's funny because around that time, 2008, I was like in 7th grade, 6th grade, right? And my mother just sent me a picture of this. I did a paper in the 8th grade, and where I said I wanted to attend the University of Syracuse because they have one of the top journalism programs in the country.
They do, and broadcast journalism.
Yeah.
The one thing, if you ever meet somebody who went to Syracuse, they'll let you know about it like within 3 seconds.
Within 3 seconds.
Yeah. They're just irrationally proud of it.
So it was crazy because that was 8th grade. I ended up doing whatever I did with my life, and now here we are. But that's why when you said New York, I'm like, what part? Yeah. Gotta ask you, man.
Here we go. It's getting juicy now.
Trying to trap me now. Okay. Gotta ask me, Danny. What do you gotta ask me?
Just ask the question.
Come on, Danny.
Like you told me earlier.
How far in Top Rank's eyes, how far is Jared Anderson from a title opportunity, a title shot at this point? He's in numerous sanctioning bodies top 10s and top 15s. We just had Brad on the other day. He made it clear. Seems like a homecoming is next. I have a source that tells me maybe summertime. I said All-American, bring him home 4th of July.
You did say that.
Bro, you bring out the fucking marching band. Look, they have a minor league baseball team. Fuck the other shit they've done in Toledo. Nah, PBC, I don't know. You take them to the Toledo Mud Hen Stadium. Bro, you bring out the whole marching joint, fireworks blasting off. You get what I'm saying?
He with Apollo Creed outfit.
He got off on a bit of a tangent there, but
I mean, main event. If main event is next after April 8th, you know what I'm saying? He's in the rankings. How far away is he? In Top Rank,
I'm going to reiterate. I mean, that's more of a question for Brad Goodman and for James Prince and Antonio Leonard. They're the brain trust. So I'm not going to sit here and say he's X fights away. And again, after every fight, you evaluate, right? So, there's Brad was on the show recently, and I'll reiterate what he said. He needs to get more rounds. I think he's had 5 second-round stoppages in a row.
Yeah.
And Jerry Forrest was a guy that
I thought he was going to give him rounds.
Was that a 10-round fight scheduled?
Scheduled for 10, and I thought Jerry was going to give him 6, 7, 8 rounds.
Right.
Turned out they decided to blast away early, and we got him out of there in 2.
That's Jared's style, though.
What was your thoughts on Jared's performance?
I think Jared, sky's the limit. I always tell people there's certain guys when, obviously you want to evaluate talent and that's the number one thing, but there's certain guys that when they walk into a room, you kind of feel their presence and you can say this guy's a superstar. And since I've started at Top Rank, the 2 guys that came into our office when they signed and met with Bob and stuff, that felt different from that point of view was Xander Zayas and Jared, but 2 different types of personalities, but they both shared that, when they walk into a room, they kind of own the room. Jared, at least when you first meet him, probably a little more quiet. Xander's got the big smile, and he's I think from a personality perspective, again, wait and see. Obviously, his career in the ring will shake out, but he's the closest thing to Felix Trinidad from just everybody in Puerto Rico wants to just wrap their arms around this kid. And he's a man of the people. I can say he's 20 now, so he's a man of the people, and he just has that it. The Puerto Ricans love a charismatic, humble champion, which is what Felix Trinidad was. Miguel Cotto, a legendary fighter in his own right, a little more reserved, but Xander has just that it. And he's right now the most popular fighter on the island, I think.
2 words, 1 name. And I want to know what you just think about it. Charlie Sheehy.
Very talented. Just 1 word.
No, I'm saying the Charlie Sheehy, 1 word, 2 words, 1 name. That was just my opening.
He just wants your thoughts.
Yeah, I just want your thoughts on him.
Very talented young man. He's another guy we're excited about.
Is he from like Ireland or Scotland?
No, he's from Brisbane, California, Bay Area, California.
Oh, he American.
Yeah.
See, I hadn't heard him talk or nothing. I just seen him fight.
He's managed by Peter Kahn, who also manages Xander Zayas.
What's next for Jermaine Ortiz? We mentioned Lomachenko. Obviously, he put on a hell of a fight against Lomachenko. Toughest fight, in my opinion, to date for Jermaine. Biggest name on his resume. But what's next for him?
Yeah, hopefully Jermaine is back in the ring. First half of the year.
Against what type of
Devin Loma card, or are we past that point?
I'm not going on who's going on what card.
Okay.
Versus who?
Yeah, well, I don't think there's a who, to be honest.
Right.
But I think first half of the year is safe.
Okay. So you feel it is safe to say that he against somebody he'll
no tune up.
No, I mean I feel like why not?
I think he didn't get beat up or nothing.
I think
he's calling out big names.
Maybe it won't be at the level of
Lomachenko,
right? Or a name like a Jamel Herring, but yeah.
I wanted to ask you, can you announce at least some upcoming fights? You got some guys out there that if I tell you a name, could you tell me do they have a fight scheduled or something like that?
I don't think he is.
I mean, you can try.
I'm trying to think who I've seen recently.
Sanisa Strada.
She fights March 25th, co-main event.
She's Ramirez co-main event. She's unifying.
I love to see her on
or she's
ESPN
attempting
as well.
to unify against the WBC champion at 105, Tina Ruprecht, and the Ring Magazine title will also be on the line. So hopefully we can get her the full unification fight at 105, and then up to 108 she'll go.
Yo, I got a name for you, but before I give you the name, I gotta ask Michaela May or April 15th.
Co-featured a Joyce and Zhang. She made such a big splash, even though
she's in tough.
Yeah, even though she lost a competitive fight to Alicia Baumgartner, she made such a splash in the UK that we only felt it was natural to bring her back there. She just they're in love with her over there. So it's a hell of a card, and I think we're with a lot of not the partnership, but a lot of the stuff we do with Frank Warren, or we obviously co-promote Tyson Fury with him. Zhang against Joyce against Zhang gets to be on ESPN Plus, which again is just so great for the fans. Nice afternoon fight.
I'm excited.
You
guys can watch that, then go out and hit the town.
Big Baby Miller versus the real Big Baby. What's the potential chance that it would ever happen? 0%? 15%? You don't know.
Never say zero.
Okay.
Anything.
I feel like you'd actually like that fight. I feel
as a publicist, you're kind of like your brain goes, but Jarrell's on the comeback trail right now, and
he got a big fight in Dubai, right?
I seen him training with
he's scheduled
somebody
Lucas
on the
Brown.
track.
That's a dangerous fight. Lucas Brown didn't he get a huge upset on in Australia, right?
Knockout win.
He fought on the first Haney Loma card. He knocked out Junior Fa
Joyce
in one round. So Lucas Brown breathed new life into his career. Obviously, we promoted Jarrell for a very, very short period of time in 2020.
Did he even get one fight actually?
No. He was scheduled to fight in the bubble, I believe. Don't quote me on it. I believe he was supposed to fight Jerry Forrest.
Okay.
And then the suspension
occurred.
Happened. Yeah. So that was big splash, but didn't go that far.
It was like an empty pool.
It is. It is what it is. It happened. And
freaking paved it.
Jarrell served his 2-year suspension, I believe it was, and now it'll be his third fight back.
Is he too unreliable for a big baby homecoming, or would that be like the wrong fight for a big baby homecoming?
I don't know if it's too unreliable. I don't know. I know that we're exploring options. For Jared's next fight after April 8th against George Arias. I think Arias is probably, if not the toughest fight, stylistically might present some different looks that he hasn't seen before. He's 5'11", so he's a little shorter and stockier, throws from weird angles. So if Jared blasts George Arias out of there, hey,
who knows?
Who do you get in there with him to give him some rounds?
There's a lot of guys. It's the heavyweight division. There's a lot of guys, but you know how it is. It's either maybe they're aligned with one of the other promoters, and those promoters have different plans for those fighters, or they ask for such an unreasonable amount of money, where obviously where it just doesn't fit into the budget. So money, political affiliations, all go into it.
Affiliation.
Yeah. So so you take this. So it's like, but it's not just a Jared situation. It's like with anything, you take a big pool, and certain factors, conspire to shrink that pool, and then there's not as many options as not as many options as you thought you had. But I think, I think Jared will. I think this is potentially Jared's toughest fight, and his next fight will hopefully be tougher, and he'll get those rounds. And once we see how he reacts to those rounds and everything.
2026, Brad Goodman has retired, gone off in the sunset.
Bro, we got 5 minutes left. So
I'm trying to build up the Jared Anderson, Richard Torres fight,
bro. No,
hey, you never know. They both have to develop, and listen, if they both get to a point where that's a heavyweight mega fight, we'll be thrilled. Richard's not as far along in his development. He just turned pro a year ago. He's a southpaw.
Damn, I was gonna say Richard, because George is a Orthodox, right? Yeah, Richard would have actually been phenomenal sparring for this fight.
So Rich, obviously we're just our plan for Richard right now. Keep him busy.
I like him a lot.
Keep building. Such a great
even
kid.
From the Olympics.
Such a great kid too, and Jared and Richard know each other well. Because back, Richard was the top super heavyweight, and Jared was the top guy, 201 pounds. You look at Jared now, and he's 6'4", 240.
Beast.
And I'm like, how in the hell did this guy ever make 201 pounds? That must have been
I was wondering the same thing about Leonard Ellaby Beard today. How in the hell did he go from black to fully gray in 90 days?
Before it was just a goatee.
It is a hell of a beard, though. I'm going to give Leonard a lot.
He pulled it out.
You know what it was? Because I saw him in D.C., and he only had the goatee. He saw my beard and got inspired.
That could have happened.
He saw my beard and got inspired. I gotta ask you, what you guys cook? What do you guys have cooking for Andres Cortez?
I like that guy.
I think around that May time frame, he'll definitely be in a step up fight. There's a fight.
He like 23-0, something like that.
No, I think 16 or 17.
16. Okay, I know.
There's a fight that Brad Goodman has thought of that I think.
Damn, I wanted to suggest one
that I think the fans will like.
He 19-0.
I wanted to suggest one that I think the fans will like.
Go ahead.
For real?
You can suggest. Yeah, you can suggest anything. It's your show, Danny.
Robson.
That would be a good fight.
Consecal.
Yeah, I don't think that's the fight that Brad. But we've got a lot of guys at 130 that in addition to Oscar Valdez, we got Conceição, Andres Cortez, Xavier Martinez, a lot of guys, in that mix. So
how excited are you for the future of Ramirez?
El Tren.
I love that guy.
Well, he's got a hell of a tough fight with Isaac Dogbe.
Yes.
And Isaac is one of my favorite stories of the last couple of years because he went through, he got the 2 losses to Navarrete, went through a lot in his life, personally that he had to deal with, and came back with Barry Hunter and Patrice Harris and all the guys over there in D.C. And, you talk about the value of a trainer. Obviously, X's and O's and all the stuff that happens in a ring is important. But what those guys have done for Isaac from a mental point of view and from building a family and from just wrapping their arms around that kid and building his confidence has been remarkable. I don't think people realize what Barry Hunter and those guys, have done with Isaac in and out of the ring. And so for him to be, 2 awful beatings against Navarrete, to be now, back in a world title fight, really incredible. And Isaac, and he's such a, when we first met him, and when you guys became first aware of him, it was all that, and he came in with the drum line and the Ghanaian conga drums and all that, and now he's quiet. He's definitely humble. Faith is a big part of his life, and just a great story. So I'm just so. That's my long way of saying Robesi's in a hell of a fight on April 1st.
I'm excited.
ESPN Plus.
I'm excited. I got to see Isaac Dogbe under Barry Hunter. Barry was working with actually Gervonta Davis for one of his fights, and it was out here up in the mountains, away from everything. And I'm gonna be. It's crazy. I was in the gym for like 30 minutes before I realized it was him. And this is a private gym. Yep. There was maybe 10, 12 people total in this building. And it took me half an hour to realize he didn't say a word. He was so quiet, ski mask, the beanie, jumping rope, doing what he was doing. And I remember we talked for a good little minute. I'm excited for that one. I do think the Robesi we've seen, he just keeps improving each and every fight. He just keeps improving. It's going to be a tough fight. I'm excited for that one.
It's by far the best opponent of Robesi's career. I think Robesi, I pick him against any featherweight in the world. Even a Mauricio Lara. That would be a hell of a fight.
Aren't you guys co-promoting El Venado?
We promote El Venado.
Yeah. Is he 30 or 26?
Who is El Venado?
Luis Alberto Lopez.
Luis. I know his name.
He beat Josh Warrington for the IBF Featherweight Championship, and I think everybody's going to be very happy with his first title defense.
Yeah.
Which has been rumored about, So
yeah, he's going to do camp in Vegas.
Yeah, it's
excited.
It's his opponent might have the luck of the Irish on his side. You know what I'm saying? So,
you just gave it away.
No, it's been reported.
Oh, okay, Mick Conlon. They're going across the pond for that one.
We'll see where it is, but
okay, nothing official.
Nothing official, but
okay.
Mick deserved, I think, a title shot after the Lee Wood fight.
I thought he was winning the fight up until that point.
What happened in that fight, I think, what people forgot or people. So he's winning the fight going away. In the 11th round, there's that horse crap knockdown that the referee called. It wasn't a knockdown. He got knocked down, and that tightened the score. So he knew that tightened the scorecards. If you remember going to the last round, he was up by 1 point, I believe, on 2 of the cards. So he had he's fighting against a champion, so he had to win that last round to win the fight. So had there not been a knockdown, all he needs to do is stay on his feet. It changes it might have changed the calculus of how he fought that 12th round, but all credit to Lee Wood. That guy is like was like the Terminator.
I know you have to go. I want to close it on this. You've known Bob for a few years, and we all love Bob. Sometimes Bob says things that he doesn't really mean. Do you believe it in your heart that Bob Arum would make Shakur Stevenson versus Devin Haney this year? Should Devin and Shakur obviously get past their?
There's no reason why why we wouldn't make the fight. Devin and you know Shakur, they are two of the most competitive.
I know they want it.
And so it at the end of the day, Bob obviously would want to promote that fight. We would want to promote that fight.
But would he want to promote it this year, though?
I can't speak for Bob, but if there's a deal to be made, both sides have to agree to a purse split, a deal, everything, so there's a lot, there's a lot of stuff that go into it.
I know there's a lot I'm just curious if you thought, because we hear it all the time. People say boxing is a business disguised as a sport. You got to make your return.
Every sport is a business disguised as a sport. Let's be real. And I don't see why Bob wouldn't, if the fight can be made,
okay.
Whether it's, if Loma comes out on top, if the Loma Shakur fight can be made, everybody would love to make that fight. Top Rank would love to. The fans want to see that fight. So
y'all love Loma, man. Golly.
I know it's supposed to go, but I'm listen. I'm gonna get on the.
It's very competitive, but I think that fight would be boring, to be real. It excites me just because of the name.
Shakur Loma.
There's a high level. None. Shakur and Devin.
It could be.
It reminds me, just thinking of it, like Robert Easter versus Barthélemy fight. It just seems like it'd be a boring fight.
Don't throw two names into those guys, please.
No offense
to either guy.
Fight. I was at
that fight. There's a lot of boxing. I just don't see a lot of action in that fight.
You said, what did you say about Loma just a minute ago?
I said, y'all sure love Loma.
We love Devin. We love Shakur. Loma. There's a lot of stick that Loma gets online from some of the boxing fans. You read a lot of the Twitter, and it's like, all this man did, he enters the pro ranks, okay?
But that's the problem.
In his second pro fight, he's like, fuck it.
Y'all gotta
give me Orlando Salido.
How long ago was that, Evan?
Well, in his second pro fight, he said, fuck it, I want to fight Orlando Salido. He did it. He got punched in the balls about 87 times.
About 20.
Lost a split decision.
He said 20.
And by the way,
Salido was grossly overweight too. Don't forget that.
That's a decade ago. People still bring up that loss as to why Loma's not a great fighter. But it was a decade ago.
No, I'm not saying he's not a great fighter.
And then in his third pro fight, he says, fuck it, I'm going to fight Gary Russell. All right? Gary Russell is one of the great talents American boxing has seen in the last 10 years. Everybody wishes he would have fought more often. But an undisputably great talent. And
Agreed.
He absolutely toyed with the man. He sent Nicholas Walters, a much bigger man.
That's not sold out for Loma.
He just fought last week. But essentially,
Nicholas Walters fought
in Colombia. Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. Was that his first fight since Nomas?
So, but he essentially
pretty much retired the X-Man.
He basically essentially
retired him.
Retired.
Bro, we thought Nicholas Walters was done. I had no idea he fought.
Boogeyman. And knocks out a peaked and primed Jorge Linares for the lineal lightweight title with a separated shoulder. All right. And then made a deal to fight Teofimo Lopez in the bubble. Lost that fight. It was a competitive fight. So all Loma's done has asked for and taken on the biggest possible challenges that that were available to him. Back in 2017, 2018, all he wanted was a Tank Davis fight. The reason that fight didn't happen was not because of Vasily Lomachenko. He would have fought Tank in 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21. Tank Davis and his team's entitled to do what they want with his career, and things have turned out great for Tank. And now he's fighting Ryan. So
sensational.
So I don't think Tank was scared of Loma, but all I know is Loma would have taken that fight in a heartbeat. So all that guy's done is seek out the best competition. And now he's going after the undisputed lightweight champion, a guy that...
What is he supposed to do at this point?
Because he skipped out the first.
Wait,
he skipped out the first time when he was supposed to fight him for the WBC and chose the franchise route instead.
So
which I'm not mad, but I was confused by.
I'll end on this. Okay, so if people want to say he was ducking Devin, you can, if you want to make that argument, make it. So he didn't fight him in 2019. He's fighting a hell of a much better version of Devin Haney now than he would have fought in 2019. So to me, that says he's not duck. That said he never ducked Devin because if he ducked Devin then, why wouldn't he duck Devin now? A Devin that is much better is
because he got everything to gain now. Then he didn't have everything to gain. He had something to lose. Now he got everything to gain. So he got.
What is he gonna do now?
He got to fight Devin now.
I mean, both fighters have a lot to gain in a Loma Haney fight. But point being is, people they criticize Loma, and it's. Back in the day, losses didn't mean as much. It's like, okay, he's got 2 losses. Who gives a shit?
I'm not mad that he lost.
The boxing fans, the boxing fans say, we want the best to fight the best. But when a guy loses, he gets absolutely shit on. Just like people still bring up the Salido loss. They'll bring up the Tio loss. So you want people to fight the best. But when they do it and they lose, it's, he's trash. That doesn't just go for Loma. That's for a lot of
boxing fans are brutal though. They're gonna talk trash even about the winner.
And by the way, whoever loses Tank and Ryan, I hope they don't get trashed on because
they're gonna get trashed on.
Both of those guys are taking on a tremendous challenge and are giving the fans the fight they want to see. So whoever loses that fight, I hope they don't get savaged too bad. But they won't. If Tank loses, a hype job. Ryan loses, he's just a pretty boy. Yeah, it's an absolutely brutal.
Who you picking? You got no dog in the race.
I think it's probably a little closer than the odds say. And Tank's about a 2.5 to 1 favorite. Ryan, I think Tank's prop is the favorite for a reason, but I think because of all the social media stuff and all the all the stuff that's gone on with Ryan and just he sort of became a celebrity before he became a star fighter. People underrate him. He's tremendously fast, phenomenal puncher. What's great about this fight is at any moment the lights could be turned out for either guy, and that's what we want to see.
It's unfortunate Keyshawn Davis isn't fighting Emmanuel to go on April 8th because Keyshawn could have showed Ryan before the Tank fight how to cut off the ring. But Evan, I know you have to go on that note. Give us your social media.
That's all I want.
Give us your social media.
At Cornerman44 with a K on both IG and Twitter. So follow me there.
All right. Ringwalk Danny, Bo Mason _LV. We are the Boxing Voice. Catch us on the next one. Arrivederci.
Adios.
What up, YouTube family? Don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Help us get to that 1 million subscribers. We're on the road to 1 million. And obviously, we have other great content on our Patreon channel. So since this video is over, head on over to our Patreon and check out all the exclusive content or right here on our YouTube members.